Oh, September 1, we love you. We welcome you with open arms, with a lot of hope and expectation. September, don't behave like March, April, May, June, July. Just open the system. Airport is open. Also, what is open? So school not open, Charlie. The school matter. Hey! You know, when I was in primary school, there used to be strikes. So we could miss terms. There was only 1 year we missed an academic year. And we've had to pay for that because, you know, the year group behind me, they and the year 2 groups behind entered the university the same year. So those who finished SS in 99 and 2000, or was it 2000? Yeah, both of them entered the university the same year. So some of them were affected. And for the first time since that time, a whole academic year is gone. You know
that if it wasn't for COVID, we would be making noise this morning and getting ready for Business Olympics.
Oh, Charlie! City Business Olympics! And shouting and saying, oh, la, Charlie. Anyway.
COVID has...
Anyway, there's something new happening today on radio and TV.
Yes!
It's called the Voters' Diary. And trust me, it's going to be insightful. On radio, it's at 1.
Head for head.
And it will be hosted by Abena Owusu Nyamechi Ampedu. And then on TV, it will be at 3 with Vivian Kailoko. And it's going to be 1 hour of pure intellectual delight.
Yes, and if you want this year's election to mean something for the future of Ghana, if you want to make the right decisions, if you want to understand the issues, you need to listen to the Voters' Diary on radio at 1 and on TV at 3.
In the meantime, what are the parents saying on the front page of the graphic?
Oh, Bernardino. Reopening schedule of pre-tertiary institutions. Private schools disappointed. Okay. And the Minister of Education, Dr. Matthew Puku-Prempeh, is pictured there. Also, government injects 800 million Ghana cedis into NIB operations. Coalition calls for inclusion of Black Shield capital in bailout and 10 million Ghana cedis earmarked for businesses in Zongo communities in 5 northern regions.
I'll start from the back page of the Ghanaian Times. Stop selling water. This is the Ghana Water Company Limited telling landlords, landladies, water vendors to stop selling free water. Bongo DCE appeals for land for government projects. He says they have so many projects, but the people don't want to release the lands for them. Now to the front page. President lays foundation stone for construction of foundry and machine tooling center. Rally behind Ejapa deal. CVM urges Ghanaians. Government fails to allocate funds to GIIF for second year running. This is the PIAC speaking. Kotoka International Airport undergoes disinfection in readiness for reopening today. And they also told that 80 PCR test kits have been deployed at Kotoka to test 1,200 new arrivals every day for COVID-19.
All right, Business and Financial Times. Time to review pension age upward. Yeah, life expectancy is continuing to rise. So, government disinfects KIA and readies to open today. Receiver and Iyoko pursue 252 million Ghana cedi untraceable depositor claims. And government allocates 10 million Ghana cedi seed fund to support businesses in Zongo communities.
Now, to define that 10 million Ghana cedis for Zongo businesses operating in northern Ghana. This is Dr. Awal speaking. No long queues at Ghana Card Mop-Up registration centers. So those of you who couldn't register, this is your chance. First Atlantic Bank to be transformed into a global bank out of Ghana. And NSS posts 86,000 service personnel.
Daily Guide. NPP chases NDC over manifesto. Mahama goes dirty on Nana and Baomia and massive disinfection for airport reopening. Ejapa deal has come to stay and kidnapper demanded 5,000 Ghana cedi ransom.
Now, the Chronicle rejects Mahama. He lacks focus. This is the NPP. Yaboamia Samoa spoke on behalf of the party yesterday. Ex-GNPC boss supports NDC campaign in Ashanti with logistics. I'm seeing a lot of motorbikes that will be delivered to the constituencies. Repaid 15,000 loan tensor. Bernard, businesswoman chases Yellow Star Microfinance over bizarre loss of land documents. So she used the land documents as collateral, and now she's paid the loan and they can't find the documents. This according to the story. And President lays foundation for construction of foundry and machine tooling center.
The Daily Statesman. Mahama is confused. NPP urges Ghanaians to vote for Akufo-Addo. Don't ignore COVID-19 safety protocols, President urges. Ghana to get first modern foundry and machine tooling center. CSO's argument against Ejapa is baseless, says the CVM. And Gexim Bank begins Made in Ghana 4P campaign.
Now, the new crusading guide. Ejapa royalties deal is good for Ghana. This is CVM. But former Minister for Finance, Setepe, says Ejapa deal is opaque and risky for Ghana. All set for airport opening as LCB storms Kotoka International Airport with state-of-the-art disinfection systems and scanners. And NPP cracks Mahama, says he lacks focus.
Okay, so let's go online and give you a few more headlines. CitiNewsroom.com, the lead story there. A Japa deal, Jinapop Mesa tussle over lack of transparency in royalties valuation. Also, NDC keeps postponing manifesto launch due to Mohammed's lack of vision, according to MPP. Reconsider exclusion of Black Shield from bailout package, according to aggrieved customers. And Amnesty International slums gender ministry after attack on 3 more accused women. Meanwhile, Nanado cuts out for Ghana's first molding foundry and machine tooling center. NSS posts 86,000 graduates to undertake national service, and private schools cautioned against resuming the 2020-2021 academic year before January next year. Meanwhile, if you go to Citi Business News, government is working to invest heavily in the aviation sector. Also, Man Capital customers urge receiver to do more to secure their records for early payment. And Asabi says, I'll cancel tertiary desalination contract, or I would have cancelled if I had my way. I think that's the message that he's putting across. Now, a funny story on Star News. Worker trapped in bitumen barrel while stealing from employer.
Oh.
He's photographed looking like something.
Oh, Joe.
Meanwhile, Okoboy defends $150 mandatory COVID-19 test for travelers. And Ofankor tenant killer not in prison, victim's father claims. Meanwhile, children under 5 airline crew exempt from mandatory testing for COVID-19. Ghana News Agency is looking also at the airports, children under 5 exempt. They also say Rawlings is mourning former Togolese Prime Minister and caught to ascertain the whereabouts of Ofankor landlord killer. So these are some of the stories making the rounds locally. Let's jump into the teaching, schooling issues.
Oh, yes.
I think that's the first one.
It's a big deal. All right. The two private school associations in the country have expressed their disappointment at the decision of the government to reopen schools for junior high school to students. The associations, the Ghana National Council of Private Schools and the Ghana National Association of Private Schools, said they were disappointed by the decision when a 10-member committee set up by the Minister of Education had not completed its work to consider the suggestions of the various stakeholders. They said they were going to propose a number of suggestions, including the redesigning of a new academic calendar that would have catered for the time lost in the old academic year, that was 2019-2020, instead of continuing with it. But in a quick reaction, the Ghana Education Service has explained that the president's decision placed emphasis more on protecting lives than livelihoods. Quote, the president, after considering all the options available to him for concluding the current academic year, decided that kindergarten, primary, JHS 1 and senior high school 1 students will not return, the GES said.
Now, more on education. 531,000 candidates are to write the BEC in 2007 centers.
That's 500,000.
Yes.
Wow.
Now,
That's a
the story
lot.
says this year's BEC will commence on September 14 with a total number of 531,000 candidates in 2007 examination centers. A West Africa Exams Council data indicated that 269,000 of the candidates are males and 262,000 are females.
Okay.
The Ashanti region represented the highest highest number of candidates, which is 106,000 with 52,000 females. The Greater Accra followed with 94,000, and it goes on and on and on and on. Okay. Now, if you check the same page in the Finder, GES begins education on school selection procedure.
Okay.
The story says the Ghana Education Service is to begin this year's sensitization on the guidelines for school selection into the senior high schools on Tuesday, September 1, which is today. The exercise will take place in all regional and district education directorates and schools. Now, the GES says they are doing this so that students and parents will know what to do in selecting schools to prevent the chaos that comes about when students have to be placed
Still
in
on
schools.
education, private schools cautioned against resuming 2021-2020 academic year before January next year. Private schools in the country have been advised against charging fees to provide online teaching and learning before the new academic year for its continuing students before it begins in January 2021. The executive director of the Africa Education was Kofi Asare, made this call after government set the return to school date for nursery, kindergarten, primary, JHS and SHS for January 2021. However, some schools with the required logistics and infrastructure are considering going ahead with the regular running of the academic calendar online at a cost to be borne by parents. Kofi Asare told City Breakfast Show these sessions cannot be considered part of the academic year because there will be non-scoring. Then he says whatever they are doing is good for the academic loss, but it's complementary and not obligatory for parents to subscribe. You can roll out this intervention, but it shouldn't be obligatory because it's non-scoring.
How about the schools that offer all these foreign programs?
He says for that one, it's cool because the his basic argument is that
those following the Ghana Education
service are the ones who have to wait for government to declare the academic year open.
Okay.
Everybody else can do what they want. Now, since we are talking education, let me just tell you something quickly about national service postings.
Yes, I was going to give you that. So
Okay,
let me
go
give
there.
you that.
Yeah.
NSS posts 86,478 service personnel. The story says the National Service Scheme has posted a total of 86,478 graduates to undertake national service at various institutions nationwide.
Okay.
And that people can go to the NSS website to check where they've been posted. The URL is nss.gov.gh. Now, the scheme has directed personnel who have been posted to educational institutions not to start the registration and validation processes until schools officially reopen. And as part of the Secretariat's efforts to keep the registration process devoid of any activities of conmen, the executive director, Mr. Isif, has admonished prospective personnel to refrain from getting in touch with unscrupulous persons who may offer service postings in exchange for money. Now, there's something I'm looking at, Bernard. This year's numbers, 86,478. Last year was 77,962. So there's been an increase.
So in the 2 years, 150,000.
Yes, schools are not opening, so some of them would have to stay at home for a while.
Yeah.
A lot of private entities, I've not seen the data, may not take on national service
It's going to be
personnel.
very
It'll
serious.
be tough.
What's the plan?
Can't we use national service people and help the educational sector in some way? I don't know.
That's a good question.
All right, let's go to the airport if you
Yes,
have, and then
indeed.
we'll also do the financial issues.
Okay, so in the Daily Guide, massive disinfection for airport reopening. The Ministry of Aviation, in partnership with Zoomline Ghana Limited, has disinfected open spaces of the entire Kotoka International Airport ahead of the reopening of the place for international flights from today. The country's main airport has been opened to emergency services only since March, when the COVID-19 pandemic started gaining ground. And the exercise was done in preparation for the resumption of full operations, which form part of the effort to contain COVID-19. The minister who was there, Joseph Kofi Adda, said the government had put in place adequate safety measures at KIA to protect passengers and staff from the virus. He commended Zoomlion for its quick response to disinfecting the airport and its environs at short notice. All right.
Now, we've been told that 80 PCR test kits have been deployed at Kotoka to test an estimated 1,200 new arrivals daily for COVID-19. The other issue is also to do with the cost of testing, which is $150. And when Dr. Bernard Okoboy, the Deputy Minister of Health, was asked why we are charging $150, he said that we are doing that because of a number of factors, including a comparison of how much was being charged in neighboring countries and other factors. He said the amount being charged was one of the lowest in the sub-region. Adding that, we arrived at the $150 charge, having considered a number of factors. So
There are a few other stories from there. Yesterday, Aviation Minister was asked about the sale of the airport. Here's a story on my journal online that there will be no sale of airport and Akufo-Addo. Story says Aviation Minister Kofi Adda has refuted claims that the Kotoka International Airport has been sold by the government. He said the Akufo-Addo administration is keen on developing the aviation sector, hence it's impossible to sell the country's assets like the port of entry. Quote, we are very concerned about the aviation sector because of the vision of the president. Nana Addo decided to set a dedicated ministry for aviation. The reason simply is that there is great potential in aviation. I want to make it clear to the media and the general public that under the tenure of this government, there is not going to be any sale of the airport and infrastructure.
okay. Now, Ejapa.
Yeah, man.
CVM says Ejapa is good. Setekpa
Yes.
says it's risky. Now,
Okay.
both stories are on page 10 of the new Crusading Guide. The Concerned Voters Movement has endorsed the Ejapa royalties deal as a perfect agreement to advance the cause of Ghana's socio-economic and infrastructural development.
All right.
But the former finance minister, Mr. Seth Emmanuel Tekwe, has raised two major concerns in the area of transparency and a high-risk anti-money laundering factor surrounding the ongoing public discourse on the Ejapa minerals royalty deal. And he goes on and on and on. So while CVM says we should embrace it, Setepe says
You have more Ejapa there because there's one here too.
We do. All right. So CSO's argument against Ejapa baseless. This is the Concerned Voters Movement.
Seriously.
They say that the argument raised by some civil society organizations against the Ejapa royalties deal is baseless, and they describe the deal as a perfect one.
It's the same group that Kogi was talking about.
Yeah,
CVM.
CVM. And listen to this. They said, what expertise, experience, competence, and track record does Bright Simmons, Imani people, and other CSOs have in stock market, asset management, and minerals royalties transactions to give them the audacity to throw dust into the eyes of the general public? Can they show with evidence that any of them have worked or consulted for any reputable stock market?
Well, they should deal with the argument and stop attacking personalities.
Yes, I think so.
An argument is not strong on the basis of the person who makes it. An argument can be valid in and of itself. So this is just illogical.
True.
Now, Jinapo and Mesa tussle over lack of transparency in royalties valuation. Minority side in Parliament continues to harbor fears that there has been an undervaluation of the royalty rights in the Ejapa royalties deal. Speaking on Citi TV's point of view, former Deputy Power Minister John Jinapo complained that the government has held back key details of the value of the company despite requests in Parliament to help judge the prudence of the deal. Deputy Finance Minister Chasidu Buahin looked into our face and told the people of Ghana that it is confidential and that he can't release this to the people's representatives. The minority boycotted the approval of the deal in Parliament, saying it was too opaque and that the state was in danger of being shortchanged. But on the same program, Japa Mesa, second DMP, said the state was in the process of building a prospectus for the deal and that it was premature to make these documents available. Now, I want you to touch on the
foundry?
Financial sector. A couple of stories, particularly with SEC regulated companies.
Yep.
There's one here about Black Shield customers. There's one sent by the GSIA, if you can get into those details.
And there's all right.
No,
the one in the graphic business about the bailout package. SEC bailout package inadequate. Industry operators want more from government. So the Ghana Securities Industry Association said it has noted the decision by the Securities and Exchange Commission to begin paying clients of collapsed fund management companies their locked up funds before the end of the year. It said the SEC's release is no doubt timely given the severe distress investors who invested their cash through these firms have been under, more so when there's been a lot of uncertainty regarding payment of their investments as promised by government. Reacting to the update on the release of funds to the clients of affected collapsed investment and fund management companies in a written response to Graphic, the association said, to date, less than 90 million Ghana cedis out of 1.58 billion due these investors has been paid in cash. This represents less than 6% of the total amount due. However, we're yet to realize the fulfillment of a promise by government to pay up to 20% more in cash, leaving 80% in bonds. So they're expecting more.
Still on this, customers of Man Capital have been talking, but that's on the receiver side. And then there's also the
Gold Coast Fund Management people.
Black Shield.
Here.
What are they saying?
The Finder page 2, the coalition of agreed customers of the 50 collapsed fund management companies have called on the government to include Gold Coast Fund Management, a member of the Group Indum conglomerate, and 24 others in the bailout package. The coalition describes as unthinkable how GCFM customers should be sidelined in government's bailout package, especially when they form the majority, that is 82%, based on some unjustifiable reasons by the Securities and Exchange Commission. The coalition questioned why Gold Coast customers are being sidelined from the bailout based on the same reasons for which the bailout was secured.
Meanwhile, customers of Man Capital are also asking the receiver to expedite action on getting information on their situation so they will be paid. It's one of 35 collapsed microfinance and savings and loans companies whose records have still not been retrieved by the receiver. Customers of Man Capital are calling on the receiver to fast track the processes for the payment of their locked up funds.
Okay, there are some other stories, like some local stories. For example, if you go to the back page of the Ghanaian Times, the Bongo DC says that the assembly wants to undertake a lot of projects, but the people there are not releasing
their land.
If you remember very well, earlier this year, the Minister for Local Government and Rural Development advised that chiefs release lands to assemblies for projects. Now, the DC of the Bongo district in the Upper East region, Mr. Peter Ayamga Ayimbisa, has appealed to the people to release land for the implementation of projects initiated to enhance the living standards of the citizenry. He said projects like Chiefs Compounds and others have not been done because the people are not releasing lands. Now, on the same page, Stop Selling Water, Ghana Water Company Limited. Now, the story says the Ghana Water Company Limited has cautioned landlords and landladies and vendors to stop selling water, as that was against the President's directive for free water for all, as a mitigating factor against the effects of the coronavirus. Now, they say that if people don't, it is wrong and illegal for any vendor or landlord or landlady to sell water during this period, July, August, and September 2020. Bernard, quick question. How about those who buy water from trucks?
Oh, there we are. I don't know.
If they should stop selling water,
How do we get water?
how should they go about it? Should they carry the water for free?
I still
Who
buy
pays?
water.
Oh, okay. So we need to deal with that.
All right. Speaking of projects, let's talk about this foundry that the president cut short for yesterday. All right. Ghana to get first modern foundry and machine tooling center. President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo yesterday cut sod for the construction of Ghana's first modern foundry and machine tooling center. The center will produce agro-processing machines and equipment, farming implements, and spare parts for maintenance and repairs. More importantly, the Foundry and Machine Tooling Center will put us in a position to develop and grow the talents of skilled and innovative young Ghanaians who graduate from our schools, colleges, and universities, the president said. Explaining the rationale for the establishment of the center, the president noted that the structure of economies bequeathed to countries in sub-Saharan Africa by colonialism was aimed at servicing its needs, promoting essentially raw material producing and exporting economies, which imported manufactured commodities from the industries of the colonial power. He mentioned that a major contributory factor to this situation has been the fact that Ghana imports almost all of the equipment, machinery, and parts that support industry, especially in the manufacturing sector.
Now, let me give you a quick one. Chief and a linguist and 3 others have been arrested over attack on woman accused of witchcraft at Sumpini. We brought you the original story.
Yes.
There's also a follow-up where Amnesty International is accusing the Ministry of Gender of not doing enough on this. But the major online story says Dagomba chief of Sumpini and his linguist have been arrested by the Savannah Regional Police Command for their role in the attack of a 50-year-old woman accused of witchcraft. The two, together with 3 others, were picked up by the police to assist with the ongoing investigations. On Saturday, Maria Ibrahim sustained severe injuries to her skull and legs after being attacked at Sumpini in the West Gonja district of Savannah region. The attack allegedly took place after the Bugum Fire Festival by a group of men who alleged that she was a witch.
Now, talking about this, the chief is 58 years old. His name is Haruna Jabuni. And the others, Zachary Abdul Karim, Shaibu Idrisu, Atta Hassan, Salugu Ishaku, popularly called Urulana. Now, the police says that we should all be on the lookout for some of these things so that we can
Now,
help
let
end
me
this.
give you a story I know you've been waiting for. This story is on Star FM Online. Worker trapped in bitumen while stealing from employer. 25-year-old Emmanuel Jima is on admission at the Fian Kwanta Regional Hospital after he attempted stealing bitumen belonging to his employer. He reportedly got trapped in the barrel in the process. The managers of ENH Emotion Company, located at Cancer Road in Sekendi Takradi, Regina Aiworo, and the production manager Charles Quason told the Kwesi Police Command that they received a call from the security on duty that Emmanuel Jima, alongside his accomplice Bernard Cranton, secretly entered the company's premises ostensibly to steal some bitumen. Luck, however, eluded Emmanuel, who fell into the bitumen barrel, they reported. Madam Oira further told the police that they quickly informed the Ghana Fire Service and the police patrol team to assist them save the suspect. Emmanuel's accomplice Bernard Cranton is currently on the run. He ran and left his friend. As of the time we find this story, the suspect was said to be in stable condition. His video is not looking happy at all. The bitumen. The longer, the more you try to move out, the more
it sticks.
Charlie,
It hardens.
don't wish this for your worst enemy.
Maybe he wasn't attempting to steal.
Well,
You know, we all have some carbon in us, so when we die and we decompose, we can become bitumen. So his spirit was yearning to be
Okay.
bitumen.
Let me quickly talk about the reviewing the pension age upward. So for those who are thinking of retiring at 60, well, maybe that could differ in the future. Economist Professor William Babwatsing is making a strong case for the country to take a relook at its 60-year retirement age as life expectancy in Ghana and some parts of the world continue to increase. Quote, talking about the future of work, we should also know that life expectancy has increased. These days, you have people who are 70 years and they are as strong as 30 years. You can have people who are 70 and they are as strong as 50.
So don't
It
let
means
them go.
when we have pensions at 60, we are throwing our human capital to go to waste, because I always say you cannot buy experience. So moving into the future, we can get to a point where we get someone who is 90 and still as active as someone who is 60. So what will be in the nature of the labor market in the future?
We will leave that there. Thank you, Kokui. Thank you, Kojo. That was the newspaper review. Coming up next is the City Business News.